how to gain control of your spending. Now, if you have a shopping addiction or if you have something that you love to spend money on and you need to cut back, then this is the video for you. Hello, I'm Charlotte Jessup and welcome to Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking all about your spending habits and how to get them under control so that you can actually spend on the things you love instead. The first step to getting control of your spending is to understand that you have a bit of a problem. Now this might feel like I'm talking about addiction and things like that, and in a way it is sometimes part of an addiction. Now I have certain accounts with certain shopping platforms online, and sometimes I spend too much on those, and I certainly have been in that place in the past. What I like to do now is look carefully at that spending and make sure that I am spending consciously, and I haven't cut myself off from spending. Instead, I'm spending on the things that I love and not on the things that don't bring me lasting enjoyment. Now, if you're watching this video, you might have landed here because you feel like your spending is out of control. You're looking at your budget and you're setting a budget and it is not falling into place. You are overspending in certain areas. You find yourself buying things online, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in the evenings, maybe at different times during the week, and they're not bringing you any joy. You just have more stuff and less money, and none of the money that you have is going on the things that genuinely mean something to you. And when you recognize that in yourself, you can actually start to take action to do something about it. Now, it might take a little while to get control of your spending, but this video could be the first step to some sort of future where you have your spending under control. Now, when you get your spending under control, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop spending entirely. What you might do instead is focus your spending on the things that you enjoy. When you find the things that you love to spend money on and the things that bring meaning and enrich your life, then actually spending money on those things feels good. It feels great. And if you cut back on the spending on things that you don't enjoy and the things that you regret later on, you actually will find that you have the freedom to spend in the areas that you love. So I'm not talking about restriction here. I'm not talking about saying don't spend on anything. What I'm talking about is conscious spending. It's finding that balance between still spending your money, but spending it on things that you want to spend it on. And when you do that, you can spend freely. So what can you do to get control of your spending? The first thing I want you to do is to keep records. So there are two types of records that I want you to keep. Now, the first one, and this is something that I talk about quite frequently across my channels, is to keep track of your expenditure. Now, you can use an expenses tracker for this. You could use a notes on your phone. You could use a budgeting app, anything that allows you to record where you're spending your money. Now, the reason this is so good is because it gives you some sort of accountability and it allows you to see where the kind of leaks and the holes are in your budget. Now, sometimes we don't think we're spending money in certain ways. And the example that I always give when I talk about this is that before I got a grip on my food spending, I was buying my food shop every week, and then I thought, oh yeah, that's under control. But what I would do is I would pop down to Tesco Express and spend money there. And actually, I found out that one week I went there 10 times in 1 week, and that is more than once a day. And actually, that was where a lot of my money was going, and I wasn't accounting for that in my budget. This expenses tracker is just a clinical record of where your money is going. It is just, I went here and this is how much I spent. And then you can look back and you can categorize that if you want. So you can put it under food, clothes, whatever fits for you. But it is just a very neat and tidy record of where the money has gone. Now, on the flip side of this, the other record I'd like you to keep is a spending journal. And this is where you look a bit more at the kind of emotions that are tied to your spending, because a lot of us are emotional spenders. So sometimes we will spend money when we're hungry, we'll spend money when we're tired, we'll spend money when we're upset. And what I want you to do is look at each of those expenses and record how you were feeling at the time. And actually, again, that can create some sort of level of accountability. if you know that you're going to have to write down how you feel about it, you might start to reflect on how you feel about it before you purchase it. And this kind of flips the cycle of spending. Instead of you thinking, I'm just going to spend, instead you think, I'm going to have to write this down, I'm going to have to write this on my expenses tracker, and then I'm going to have to write about how I'm feeling. And you start thinking, how am I feeling? Do I feel differently? What mood am I in? And you can start already to look for different solutions to that problem. So that takes me to the next one, which is to acknowledge your triggers. Look at why you are spending. So your spending journal is going to help a huge amount with this. And if you realize that you always get a takeaway on a Friday because you're tired and you're hungry, then look for solutions that are cheaper, that stop that expenditure. So maybe it's time to get some pizzas that you keep in the freezer, or maybe it's time to find a way to have your favorite meal prepared already so you can cook it in advance and you can just stick it in the microwave and heat it up. What things do you need in place that you can do instead of spending that money? If you start going out clothes shopping every time you think you don't look your best, then maybe you need to address why you don't feel confident about your body rather than going out and spending. So you look for those triggers, you look at how you feel, and you address the emotions rather than the spending. And actually the spending will reduce as a result of those habits and those actions that you start to take. The third point is to get clear on your goals. So why is it that you want to reduce your spending? What is it that you would rather be spending this money on instead? And when you get that clarity, what happens is all your spending falls in alignment with those goals. So you will start looking at these expenses and this expenditure that you're putting out and reflecting on it and go, does this actually bring me closer to that goal? Does it actually bring me the joy that I'm seeking in my life? And that is really important, and it's a hugely important step on the journey to gaining control of your expenditure. Because when you have this goal and you have this absolute focus and this absolute clarity about where your money is going, any decision that you have to make when it comes to spending money is a simple one. It's, does it bring me closer to achieving my goal or not? And if it's or not, then the decision on whether to buy it is already made for you. Instead, you can look at going, well, if I was going to spend £20 on a new top, maybe I could put that £20 in my savings and we will be that bit closer to a family holiday. So you reflect on each of those decisions with your goal as the central focus to that decision. Now, number 4 is to take practical action. So sometimes the simplest thing to do is to try and cut yourself off in some way. Now, I'm not talking about going cold turkey on spending, because that's not what I want you to achieve. I want you to consciously spend. But I do want you to look at things like unsubscribing from mailing lists. So if you've signed up to mailing lists from shops and retailers that actually encourage you to spend, then now's the time to unsubscribe from those mailing lists. Also think about, are your passwords and your bank details saved into these retailers' accounts? If you can remove them from these accounts, then it will stop you just impulse spending because you know you don't have to get up out of your chair and get your purse or your wallet. So what can you do that can kind of put a barrier between you and making that purchase? And that is the practical action. So it could be as simple as, if you regularly meet up with a friend and you always go into the city centre or into the town centre where there are shops, and you find that that is a trigger for your spending, decide to meet somewhere else. Could they come round to yours for a coffee instead? Or is there something else that might be triggering you? Perhaps it's that you always spend in the evenings when you're trying to get your child to sleep and you're on your phone. So could you instead take a book with you when you're putting your child to sleep and leave your phone out of the room so that you avoid that need to spend or that urge to spend when you're in that situation? So look for practical ways that you can eliminate some of these situations where you are spending. And the last one is to forgive yourself. Now, we've all had periods where we spent some money on something and we reflect on it and it maybe wasn't the best situation or the best thing to do at the time, but we don't want to hold on to those emotions. That's just a becomes another trigger for spending. We try and we will chastise ourselves for those decisions that we've made in the past. And what we want to be is present thinking and future thinking. The person that you are now is thinking about how they spend money. And the person you're going to be in the future is going to be even better at it than you are now. So let go of that person that was in the past. Forgive them and allow yourself to move forwards from that. There is no reason to hold on to feelings of resentment about decisions you've made in the past, whether you want to call them mistakes or whether you just want to call them a moment that happened in the past, and just let those feelings go. Just release them and you will find that you will move forwards in a much happier place. And that's when we start making good decisions about our spending. Now, like I said, not all spending is bad. I want you to be able to spend money on the things that bring you joy, whatever that is. Now, as millennials, we quite often get tarnished as being avocado and coffee lovers, but I want you to be able to spend money on coffee and avocados if those are the things that bring you joy. What I don't want you to do is be spending money on avocados because when you get upset on a Friday evening, you just start impulse purchasing avocados. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to spend money on the things that bring you joy and the things that create happiness in your life, and do that in a very conscious and mindful way. So that's it. I hope this has given you some pointers so that you can get on a path to controlling your spending and creating some sort of life that brings you more joy without restriction, and from a place where you know what you want and you know what your goals are and you have a plan to make them happen. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and comment and hit subscribe so you get all of my videos as they are released. They're coming out 2 times a week, so watch out for the next one and I hope to see you there.